Hi, welcome to Restrocast. Today, my guest is Panchali Mahendra. She's the president of Atelier House Hospitality, one of the most prestigious restaurant groups in the region. I enjoyed my conversation with Panchali because her story is quite fascinating. A girl from state of Uttar Pradesh in India, a self-proclaimed tomboy basketball player, turned to hospitality, calls Taj and Oberoi's as her finishing schools, and went on to start a restaurant group in the city of Dubai, which already has a Michelin star under her belt, and a lot many restaurants which are genuine contenders. What I heard from Panchali quite continuously through her career is that she has really grabbed the opportunities and made the most out of them. I saw someone who did not allow her gender to come in the way of her career. In hospitality industry where the ratio of the women are less, which is acknowledged given the harsh environment, long hours, graveyard shifts, she has not only made her mark, but she has earned the respect of the entire industry. I enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure you will. Welcome to Restrocast. Panchali, welcome to Restrocast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All my pleasure.
We have been hearing a lot about all the good work that you're doing, the Michelin star series of awards, new markets, new restaurants. But before we dive into all of that, I would like to know where it all started. And I have a thesis. My thesis is that nobody gets into the restaurant industry by plan. Most of the people
Absolutely.
just fall into it by chance. So I want to know if that is true in your case or not, and where it all started and how did you fall in it?
Absolutely. I think you're pretty apt on that. I didn't fall into it. I think I was literally pushed into it. And this all started in, I think, 2003, after my graduation, after my class 12th. I used to play basketball for India. I was a state level player. I started representing India.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do. And I had all these dreams of to play for WNBA one day and keep playing for India. But of course, like many other dreams, I was shown the reality, and I was told that basketball for women in India doesn't have a future. So for passion and for fun, it is great, but as a vocation to make some money, it is not going to go too far away.
Can I make a
So
confession? I don't even know that India has a basketball team.
yes, it does.
Damn.
And it's very, I must tell you, it is a whole process because you have players who start playing at an age of 14, 15. It's called the youth nationals that you have to play for first. Then you play for district, then you play the city level, then you play the state, that's the national level. Then you have a camp for the national. So the teams, there are 11 players from every state, and then you have clubs like the DLWs, the locomotive works, and the railways, and the other clubs, like other cricket, as a profession. And then they choose the top probably 18, 20 players. They go to a camp. And India at that time could, I think we were qualifying for ABC. That's the Asian Basketball Championship that used to happen in China. So that is the highest that India back in the days could play till internationally. But now I'm sure the women are killing it, and basketball is becoming huge. So that's what
I really hope so because there's. I mean, I think in India, apart from cricket, nothing else makes noise.
I think tennis, I would say. Lawn tennis.
Yeah. Team
Individual.
sports. Yeah,
Yes.
individual sports.
Individual sports. Team sports, no, not much. And it's such a shame that I always think that when we watch at Olympics and even Commonwealth, that's such a one of the now the highest populated country in the world, and
Yeah.
with the resources, what is happening. But I understand being a part of it. I can't speak much on it, what goes internally. But I just hope people are smarter now and they can invest a lot more money in players and in sports to bring that visibility internationally. As a player, I just remember one thing that, we would not even get the basic food, the nutrition that is available for a national level player, you're playing for 8-9 hours a day. Imagine that intensity, and you're working out and you're playing, and the kind of food that would get diluted dal. That's
Ouch.
so that kind of nutritional value goes in how do you keep up with international standards and stamina. That's just as basic as that. But so that's what I was doing, and was very,
What part of India was that? Where were you?
I was in Uttar Pradesh. I was in UP, Lucknow. My parents moved to Lucknow in '99, and I was in a school called Amatnia. And what an amazing school. It always pushed women to do extracurricular activities. We had our own basketball team, we had our own swimming team, debate team,
I think
play
Lucknow is
sports.
also its own world. It's not. It's not fully, UP in its.
Lucknow is an old world charm that it is, I think, still habited by poets and dreamers and foodies. It is one of the most beautiful cities. I think when we moved there in '99, talking and thinking about Lucknow, the people had so much nuances of sophistication in their speech, the Urdu that they spoke, and what a place the Avdi cuisine to establish there. But even now, it has that old school charm to
Yeah,
it, and people
yeah.
are still laid back. They're still very lazy.
No,
But
I am a Delhi born and raised. I'm a full Delhi boy, and I used to think, and I traveled quite a lot in India, and I used to believe I used to fight for that Delhi has the best food, the best use of spices, the way it's done, etc. And no place in India even comes close. And then one day, not like after I think at the age of 28, probably I went to Lucknow and I tried chaat there. And I was like, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's-
Delhi has a contender. Somebody's beating it,
It's
and very, very
amazing.
well.
Yeah, no, Lucknow, I mean, it has the kind of the Awadhi cuisine, like I said, the kebabs and the biryanis and the chaats and even the chai. Just so
What is
many
that?
things to explore.
Sharma Ji tea stall is quite popular, huh?
Yeah, Sharma Ji's tea stall, and his what does he give with it? The muska bread.
Ban maska.
Bun muska.
Ah,
So you have to stand there. And I must tell you, I went a couple of years back, the first time, actually like 4 years back, I like to believe. And my mom said, we're going to this place to have bun muska and chai. And said, let's go, let's do it. And we go there in this little tiny stall with, those bar stools that you have to stand. There's nothing to sit. It's by
Yeah.
the corner near a sewage area. And there were a couple of people, I don't know what they were smoking. I can't say it on the podcast, but it smelled really nice. And then they were enjoying the refreshments of the bun muska. And we were like, then you have this side of Lucknow, and there are Mercedes cars parked up there.
Yeah.
There are people in their rickshaws standing there.
Yeah.
It was just I was like, nobody cares.
I think it's a
And
leveler.
that's what food brings, right?
It's a leveler, right?
It's like your Bukutwer here in Dubai. The South Indian place that does fried fish. And that is what these places whether in Lucknow or anywhere else reminds you of. It brings people of every stature together. But talking about Lucknow, yes, I'd still like to believe it is probably better than Delhi. People from Delhi might not like that. But then, there's so many cities in India. I grew up in Hyderabad, and, I grew up a little bit in Bihar,
Yeah.
and I'm from Rajasthan. I'm a Rajput. So, grew up in Delhi, worked in Bombay. So I worked in Bangalore. So I have had the opportunity to dine in and dined at like all the root level places, the local places that defines a place. So I think India is amazing all over.
Plus one to that, 100%. So then what happened?
Then-
Basketball was not
then
happening.
basketball wasn't happening, and thank God for my father. You know what happened? I think he started seeing me being a little tomboyish. And then one day he came in my room, and we had those bean bags back in the days, and I was sitting there with my legs apart and not very womanly and not very feminine. And I think he had a concern, and he went and told my mother that I think our daughter is turning very manly, very tomboyish, and she has cut her hair short, she is playing in the sun, and she's very rough on the edges. I don't think basketball is for her. I think she should go to a finishing school. But that was a joke. So we used to make fun of it. Like, oh, you want me to go to finishing school? What, era are you living in? And then somebody in my family said, why don't you think of sending her to a hospitality? I wanted to study you're from Delhi, so you would know St. Stephen's. And I even got through my sports quota because at the age of 17,
Nice.
I'd paid like 4 nationals. And I wanted to do English honors and play basketball and chill. And that was my agenda in life. But I think somebody said, do a vocational thing, do something that, it's more specified. And they said, send her in hospitality. She's like a people's person. She's bubbly. She's cheerful. And they'll also be like, they'll polish her up and she'll teach her some manners and etiquette.
Wow, that finishing school thing, was
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
And I didn't understand what is this hospitality school. But then, when I saw the brochures of all these fancy schools like IHM Aurangabad, where I went to study from the Taj group of hotels, or the Manipal one, I said, wow, these kids are really having fun. And it's very glamorous because you get to wear all these nice uniforms and be in front of, big hotels, 5-star hotels, and meet all these celebrities. So what a glamorous life. I must join. I'm done. I was sold out by the brochure that I saw of IHM Aurangabad.
Wow.
And I told my father, yeah, you're right. Let's go study in this glamorous looking hotel school.
So no understanding of food, hospitality. I mean, as in like
food. Yes, I knew what good food was. Been fed so well.
No. I mean from professional.
No, not professional.
perspective.
Nothing. Zero. Nothing. It was just. I think hospitality 20 years back was coming up, and it was destined for me. It was decided, I think, primarily by my father, and he was like, this looks good. It's Aurangabad. And you know what happened? I think he liked the fact about Aurangabad being a little town and a small village in Maharashtra. And he said, why am I going to send her to Bombay or Delhi or, outside the country for her to get more spoiled, perhaps. So he said, I'll send her to a small little village in a hotel school. What is going to go wrong? Until he realized when I graduated, I'd become like a mafia.
Oh, I want to know more about that. What is
we
that?
were doing all the naughty things. I can't say them online.
So you were the hostel mafia.
We were the hostel mafia. We were having fun. Like, we studied, but we were having a lot of fun. I mean, listen, you're being taught about alcohol and you're doing cocktail trials. So, and you're eating all kinds of stuff. So it was fun. It was just, we had a great time. He thought it was going to be very serious, but we knew how to have fun.
So what is this? Village. This is hotel management or?
So, in India, you have many other hotel schools. Some are run by the government. And then in the private sector, you have certain schools like the one that I went and graduated. And I like to believe it was India's #1 university for hospitality. It was affiliated with the Taj group of hotels. And they primarily ran it. And it had the affiliation with the University of Huddersfield. So you got a degree from Yorkshire and your honors. And that is where it was, in system with ACTE at that point of time. And then you had the ITC group who had their own hotel school, Wakshaw and Manipal. And I think in the graduation level, these were the top schools. And then, of course, the government had IHMs, which were in Delhi and Pusa and Bangalore and Bombay, everywhere, all across the country. So people could sit for a common exam for that, which I also did. According to your rank, you can choose it, or you could go to any of the private schools. I like the brochure of IHM Aurangabad the best. They were good-looking boys and girls. So I was like, my choice is clear and straight.
That's nice. That's nice way to put that. So was the degree regular hotel management, or was it like in the culinary side, or like?
So it had.
Walk me through it.
There were two aspects to it. One was the culinary, and the other one is hospitality management. So what you do is you get a BA honors in hospitality management, in which you're of course studying about food as science, but what you're studying is also about the commerce, the accounting, accommodations management, revenue management, strategy, human resources. So every aspect from the non-operating side of it, which kind of encompasses around, is what you were studying, sales and marketing. So it was a very strategy-driven course. So you're basically doing a management course, but a lot more concentration on the hospitality sector and also aviation. So it was not just, because hospitality is not just confined into hotels and restaurants, more so over wherever it can be utilized. So
and then where did you go from there?
So I studied there, and as luck would have it, like I said, I was enjoying. I got a gold medal, so I came first in my class, and from the University of Huddersfield and from IHM Aurangabad. So I topped in UK and in India, and that was great. So my parents were happy. Then they're like, "Fine, we forgive you for the 3 years what you have done."
So now you're finished and finished well.
And I finished well. And then from there, I was fortunate enough to get through the Oberoi Hotel School, which is called OCLD, to do their post-graduation certification. So I'm a postgraduate in hospitality again. I did my 2 years of master's from the Oberoi Hotel School. That's a scholarship program. For their guest service management, again, a management course, they select 20 people, I think, across Asia and in Middle East, and they pay you to study. They take care of you, and once you graduate from there, you straight become a manager. So, unfortunately, you don't have to go through the bottom rung. Though, even though during your training time, you have to get your hands dirty, but you're a direct
Why do you say
position.
unfortunately?
I mean, I think people who have spent a lot more quality time, a lot, not doing internship for one month and getting your hands dirty. Practical knowledge, not theoretical, is always true knowledge. I like to believe.
Sure.
So I think people when until and unless you don't clean a toilet, you will never know how dirty or clean it was. So I think, and I think one of my interviews I said something and somebody probably misunderstood it, but it was like, dirty hands are a sign of clean money and clean business. So, unfortunately, I wish for us
hear
not
you.
to have the chip on the shoulder and be like, oh, I'm a manager today at the age of 22 of a big hotel.
Yeah.
It was important I think, for a lot of people to understand that. I wish we were thrown at the deep end a lot more for a longer time to understand like how it is to be a waiter and how it is to be
Your
a
entitlement
supervisor.
will never get better of you.
But then, yes, we do understand that we worked hard and studied hard and competed with 100,000 people to get that 20 seats. So that ways we were fortunate enough. But having said that, after that, my posting was one of the biggest posting in the country. I was sent as an assistant F&B manager to the Oberoi, Mumbai, Nariman Point, 800 room property, and F&B, and
This is what year?
this is now we're talking about 2008. So I've graduated. I've done my master's. 2003, I entered the scene. 3 years of graduation, 2 years of post-graduation. 2008, I am now working at the Oberoi as an assistant F&B manager. My first day, and there are 96 people who are reporting, so-called reporting. And then you have to understand that in Bombay, it works on union. You have 55, 60-year-old men and women who are your supervisors, who are reporting to you, and they've been working for 30, 40 years in the same restaurant, the same hotel. And you're just standing there. It's like, and this is very surreal. You cannot, and they're all well spoken. I still remember this woman. Her name was Dolly. She was the aunt of John Abraham, who is an actor. And it was so funny, and that we'll keep for another day. But they were all from good families, and they just been working because they loved. And they're really elderly people who are reporting, and you're standing there as I was 22, 23, and I was their manager. And massive property, and it's just like, what
Yeah,
am
too
I supposed
intimidating,
to
huh?
teach? Yeah. And so they know what to do with you. You
Correct.
don't know what to do with them. And your day one, you're like, listen, don't be a model and stand at the entrance of the reception and do nothing. We will expecting around 1,200 to 1,400 people coming for breakfast, and the Asians come very early in the hotel. So your job as a manager is to tuck your sari up and stand behind and go clean spoons and glasses. Because the two things that are always, there's never enough, is
Were you being
cutlery.
ragged? Or
No. I understood what they meant, because see, these people knew how to handle thousands of people every day from morning to night. And it's the biggest and the most busiest restaurant called Frangipani.
so they were basically just saying that now you're the manager, please get out of the way.
Yeah, because what are you going to do? You can't teach them anything. All that you can probably do is stand at the reception like, good morning, good night.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very wasted human manpower. So I think what I could be of any help to them, instead of just shining my smile and my face, is to use spoons and glasses. They always had shortage. Any restaurant, all the time, cutlery and glassware and plates are the thing. So I was helping them out, just cleaning glasses every day for 2-3 hours. And I said, I didn't mind, because I thought this is what I talked about, like dirty hands. So sometimes to understand and to become part of the system, to be in the system, you have to become a part of it. A lot of people have put their hands up like, no, I'm not going to do this menial job.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I learned from my parents from the beginning, and in the industry taught me, is dignity of labor. And that hotel and that restaurant and my time there really humbled me, because nobody cared where you were from, what you did, what gold medal, silver, bronze medal, nobody cared.
Also,
For them,
I
you were
think,
just
I think Oberoi as an institution is also quite
Very
large and
proper.
overpowering for an individual to be flaunting their gold medal. No.
Well, it is, but
I mean in a good way. I mean, it's like
No,
as an
absolutely.
institution, they're like the excellence is like
I
literally
mean,
in
I
every
still have
corner.
it behind on my wall in my office, and I'm still proud of it more than many other things. But though my gold medal was from the Taj Hotel School, and the
Yeah.
overall didn't care. I mean, we all passed out there with distinctions and everything. But I know, like I said, nobody cared about my past there. Nobody cared about my what am I doing. They said, you just do your work. You come here, and you can't fight with the union. There's not too many questions. 4 o'clock came. People who were cleaning their spoons would leave everything like that and go out. Was a huge learning experience. And of course, the kind of clientele, you're standing there and suddenly you have the Ambanis walking in. And I at some point I had I think Mr. Anil Ambani's number, personal number on my phone, because every Sunday he would come with his family, with the kids who are grown up right now, to Frangipani and dine there. And he'd like, Panchali, keep my table ready here, keep my table ready. So you're also dealing with all of, you're just baffled and overwhelmed with everything, with the team, and second with the kind of people coming and dining every day. So what a great experience. I think
Absolutely.
that was,
Absolutely.
today when people see me in the office sitting and it's like, what would you know? And then I say, you don't understand that I come from operations. I have done that. I didn't like it. That's why I left ops. So I can now delegate work. But those were fun times. Been there, done it all.
No, I'm sure, and I
Worked
think
18 hours a day for
and
many years.
I think the clientele that you're talking about, serving them, I think is also like is the epitome of what
Service.
service with no you can't err. There's no way.
Exactly. And you can't say no. I mean, we were taught that, we had this whole Ritz-Carlton thing saying that, A, we are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. So first keep that, like that finesse and that sophistication always along with you. And second, guest is God, Aditi Devo Bhava. That's, as an Indian, that's our first thing, that guest is God. You can't say no. He's always right. And that's what, I'm old school. I grew up with that go beyond the expectations and do everything. Before they even ask for it, it's already there in their hand. So
I love hospitality for that. I serve well as well, but I'm also a difficult customer. I don't give people bad time, but my expectations are very, very high. I don't mind, putting my expectations on table right at the start. But I think in hospitality, one thing that I really, marvel about is that restaurants and hotels, and especially F&B, is even more, brutal. Every day is a new day, and you have to deliver exactly the same each day, each hour.
Exactly.
With different circumstances, with different problems.
Yeah, you have to deliver to your guests every day. You have to win them every day. Somebody was asking me, do awards and recognition make any difference to restaurants? And we're talking about it. And I said, of course they do. But what's the biggest award is winning your customers every day. And because, at the end of the day, there's somebody who is taking that time out to spend their valued money, their time, an occasion or whatever to come out, because dining is a whole experience. You just don't get up and like, I want to eat. There's a thought process. People plan it. Your hunger is like, let me not waste my calorie, and everybody wants to have a good meal. And if you play around with that, then of course there's disappointment. And I think most of the time we always feel that don't waste somebody's time. More than money, it's their time, energy, and their likeliness to be there, to turn up to a restaurant.
Yeah, it's an aspirational meal. It's somebody's out there to
You're
have a
looking
good
forward
time.
to something.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you look forward to something, of course, if it's not fulfilled, the expectations not met, there will be disappointment. We go for a movie. Yes, we are not very vocal about, whether we like movies. We tell our family, like, don't go for it. Restaurants is a whole different subject. But yeah, well, if you spend money, you go watch a movie, you don't like it, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know about this place. But yeah, of course, food being subjective and a lot more out there, and you can express it. But it's a good thing, because I want people to understand that it's not easy to run good restaurants. And there's a lot of hard work every day, like you were mentioning, every day. You can't take it, today, I have 10 great reviews. No, tomorrow, that one bad review can really throw you back. And we see it. So it's one of the toughest, I like to believe, toughest jobs
No, I think,
to do it.
and also gathering those 10 good reviews is actually very, very difficult. Gathering that one bad review is quite easy.
Yeah, of course.
You just don't need to do anything for that.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
Making people talk good about you, even though they were super happy, it's very difficult. There's some, and this is something very new to me in India.
So because I've just entered the market 6 months back or 7 months back. In Dubai, we have a very protective environment. You cannot get berated or bashed publicly. They can write certain negative or,
You
what do you call
don't?
it? No, you cannot. It's against the law. So you cannot berate anybody publicly about a
How
restaurant.
so? Like, tell me.
The choice of words. You can't thrash people. You can tell them that, I wish this was better. This could have been.
But I
this was
can't say that,
missing.
hey, I went to this restaurant, food was very, very bad.
No. So you'll have to be very careful about the choice of words that you can say about, even like a very, very bad could be taken in a very negative connotation. You can
So
say
you
like
mean you
they
can
can
do-
have choices of improvement. They could have done this. But like you can say like,
But who will go back? Like, how will you go back? Get back to the customer.
In Middle East, it's or say, for example, let's say talk about Dubai, you cannot, it's not just restaurants, for anybody.
Yeah.
You cannot publicly berate anybody. You cannot talk. I personally think there is a limitation because you don't have freedom of speech. So you have to have a very controlled mechanism of sharing your thought process. You can share it on the side, of course, but you can't go on a public forum is what I'm saying. You can't go on a Google and thrash a place up.
I
Because-
didn't know that. I'm hearing this for the first time.
Yes, it can. I mean, it depends on the ownership of the people. If they want to take, there can be legal actions taken against you. Again, the choice of word matters. You can't call a spade a spade. So,
Got it.
and then that changes in India, right? Because now you're in a country
yeah.
of speech and
Absolutely.
freedom of speech. And I'm protected in Dubai. So I know people who genuinely mean, constructive criticism for me. They pick up the phone, they message me, they let me know, Panchali, this can be worked around. And I have a policy of I'm very open to listening. What I take from that is my
Sure.
my process, but I am always open to listening to any sort of criticism. I don't critique the criticizer. But India was an eye opener. Mind, ears, all kind of openers because nobody stops. And if one person we're talking about it, how the camaraderie works. If one bad review, there'll be 10 people supporting it. One good review, nobody cares. And India has no stop, and you can't stop people. They will bash you up. There is. I've just opened a restaurant called Inja, which is the world's first Indian-Japanese concept. And of course, in Delhi, a lot of people don't know because there's no benchmark. It's the first, so, and people ask me why Delhi.
It's on my list to be there.
Absolutely. Let me know
Only
when
if
you
I
go.
can reach Delhi.
Whenever you are there, the place is waiting for you. And there's this comedian who didn't know anything. He had no idea about India. He was just making a bit real, and he mentioned that, what is really disgusting these days is that this one person has made something called dal chawal sushi, and he's like, what has happened to the world now? After dal chawal sushi, there is going to be butter chicken sushi, and then you will go to a dhaba, and then you'll order for 2 naan rotis with dal chawal and butter chicken sushi, and so he went on and on. It was very funny. And the number of people, and that's I think the day when not the publications ever we believed in. It was that reels, comments. I think there are, if you actually go, there's million views. There is, I don't know how many comments over
What comedian
thousands.
is that?
His name is Gaurav Kapoor.
Oh, of course. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
And the number of people who tagged Inja on it. And he's like, oh, have you been to this restaurant called Inja? And oh my God. And that's the day we actually realized we are famous. Inja is really famous. It's known by everybody. But yeah, people
So that
trolled
helped.
it. I don't know if it helped or no, but people trolled. And they trolled me left, right, center. And then I was like, wow.
By the way,
this
do
is-
you have dal chawal sushi?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Asking for science. I mean,
No. I mean, I'm sure it tastes great. What is it? Rice and dal. But no, we are a little beyond that. Inja was little.
no,
was an
I
experiment.
realize why Gaurav Kapoor might have made. I mean, I'm sure you know the genesis of that, right?
No, I don't.
So, okay. So when you were saying that, I am not aware of this incident,
Right.
but I could have guessed it was Gaurav Kapoor because I think during pandemic, this guy made like a random monologue on Instagram saying all the people who love sushi, all the connoisseurs, of Japanese food, I'm telling you, please stop your sushi from entering West Delhi. And, we are going to make momos out of your sushi. We are going to put mayonnaise on it, and we are going to make
okay.
wasabi out of mint chutney. So
Yes.
so he did that thing. And he basically, it was funny as hell.
Oh yeah, he said
He's like, Sonu Bhaiya in D Block Market is going to fry your sushi
Yes,
and serve it with
I think
momo chutney.
I remember he made a word also that I remember this now because then I started following. He made a word that was wasabi and mint something. Mansab, no, something. He made a word in that
Yeah,
same
might
video.
have, right? So
And
I can relate.
Chinjabi. He said there's a Chinese and in the Punjabi has got to get Chinese and Punjabi is
You know
called
what? By the way,
Chinjabi.
I use Punjabi a lot.
Okay.
You know, because in Delhi especially, or it's actually Delhi. Bombay uses Szechuan. I mean, Bombay has a
They have their own flavors happening for
correct,
Chinese
exactly,
food.
right? So in Delhi, I think all the Asian food that you get has tadka. I call it Chinjabi. It has its own spin.
I like it. I love
I
the
love no, I love it. I'm
I'm
saying
a-
I call it Chinjabi.
I'm a chili chicken aficionado. You know, any Chinese, anywhere in India, the first thing I have to order is a chili chicken dry because I can't find that anywhere in Dubai. I can't find a good chili chicken dry like the way we have it in India, in Delhi, certain restaurants.
Yeah, chili
Sorry.
chicken is everywhere.
But there's a specific
Delhi.
one. But yes, coming to the point, yeah, it was. I even lost track of what we're talking. But yes, Chinjabi and Inja and taking trolls and memes. So freedom of speech. So that
But
can
you've
happen.
taken. I think Inja as a name. Then I think Chinjabi is not a troll. It's an idea. Maybe the
No,
name.
I think I'm okay for now. I am still suffering from my backlash of the comments, but no, it's it's fun. I take it as fun, and with Inja success today, I can only laugh. So,
Where did it go from Oberoi's?
yeah, so I was at the Oberoi, and unfortunately, I was the terrorist attack that happened in 2008, 26/11. I was there in the hotel, and I went through the whole attack, and we'll do another podcast for that. And almost got shot twice. Where a good
Oh,
friend
you
of
were-
mine- at the Oberoi. Yes, I was working. I saw the terrorist right in front of me. Not just there, and then it's a whole new episode that we'll have to do. I've actually a lot of people have said you need to talk about this on air, but I haven't. And
No,
I don't
please.
generally.
I would want to know.
Another time. Yes,
Huh?
I will another time, and I'm mentally prepared for it.
Okay.
And so I was there, faced a lot, and unfortunately, after the attack, I still worked with them for 6 months, but I couldn't go there. There was a certain, the whole hotel was destructed. I have been there the next day for evacuation, the day after rather, and seen, not the most pleasant sights of a lot of lives that were lost. And there was always that one tingling sense of smell that never goes away, of blood. And that
Oh my
always-
God! I
yeah,
just got goosebumps.
yeah, that's always stays. So I think psychologically and physically and mentally, I think I was just exhausted.
Wow.
And I just couldn't. And so that was I wish it was longer, but that was my term that ended, I think somewhere mid 2009.
It was the trauma of that event, which
I mean, no, it wasn't the trauma. I think it was just like I told you, I didn't like operations so much. So I was looking, I said, I cannot work for 18 hours a day. I love this industry, but I need to find some other. I have no life, and I was falling sick a lot more because all that you do is you have bad habits, because you're not eating on time, and you're not sleeping on time, and you're working for 18, 19 hours. You're on your feet, and you've choose different kind of stress busters in your life to like keep you afloat. So yeah, that wasn't good, healthy enough for me. And then of course the attack happens, so it has now physically, mentally exhausted me. So I was looking for, where should we go from here? I was actually in Lucknow. I came back to Lucknow. I was like, let me think, let me figure it out. And during that time, I lost my elder brother, and he was my aunt's brother. But I think he lived all his life with us for us. So it was a very weird time in my life, And then he was in the military. He was in the army, Bihar regiment, and we lost him at a very early age. He was 27. And then and during that time, just finding yourself, just pacing, do I want to be back in hospitality? And luck would have it, I got an offer from a company called HVS. It was Hospitality Valuation Services. It was it still is, now called Atelier. It is India's #1 consulting company for hotels. It was from United States. And I met with the team in Delhi, in Gurgaon rather, and it was a consulting job. And they were looking for somebody who was like from a good hotel school graduate and has worked operationally, and to start coming in consulting for mergers, acquisition, operatorship, everything, asset management for hotels primarily. And I said, yeah. And the best thing was they paid really well. So I said, this is a huge jump, because, even today in hotels, you get different perks, but the basic pay scale is very minimal. We always say it's a waiter's pay. You make money on the tips, but as managers, you don't even get the tips. So you're like, I'm poorer than the serving staff. And so I went and worked with them, and then when I started consulting, and this is where this whole consulting and hospitality F&B started coming in, I realized that I don't like paperwork. I'm more on now. Now I'm like, oh God, I can't sit behind the computer and write reports and do these mergers and write articles. But I also don't like standing on my feet for like 18 hours. What am I going to do? Do I need to find? But I like hospitality. I want to be part of this because this is still, there's glamour. There's still, you get paid to eat and drink and, party and meet all these amazing people and chat. And I love talking and chatting. What should I do? And during this whole time when we were consulting and it wasn't working out, I wasn't enjoying myself. I reached out to in between when I was doing this. I even picked up a small job at IBM, if you would say. Like I was working in IBM in HR writing. I was subject matter expert and I was writing deployment and policies for them because I could write.
No, hold, come on.
Yeah, it was just
so from consulting to IBM or
consulting to IBM.
Okay,
While
wow.
I'm just trying to because I didn't like consulting, so I worked there for a year and a half. Now I'm trying to figure out, okay, this is not working, ops is not working. In between, somebody.
So you're just leveraging your people talent.
Yeah, I'm just now jumping for money. I'm not even seeing where my career or my life is going. So it was a very small, it was 5 months stint that I took in between, till just to figure out, do I want to open a restaurant or because during my consulting with HVS, I realized I loved F&B. Like restaurant, because when we were consulting, the F&B part I was very excited.
It used to light you up.
Yes, it was like that. Was my reports were amazing. Others were not so much, but the F&B side was always amazing about writing about development. So I wanted to stick to that, and I said till I figure it out. And IBM tripled my salary. It was Bangalore, another party place. I was like, oh, I get to go to another city, and Bangalore is like the happening place. I'm working for IBM. I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And by then, I think everybody around me, my parents were so confused. They were like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. That age, you've lost a brother, you've been in a terrorist attack, you are just like, you are shifting jobs for boys and my boyfriend is here or the party scene is here. So there's not, you just want to live your life. And wherever the money was, I said, okay, I'm not going to leave the country. I'll be in the country, but let me go really far from you all. So they're in Lucknow. So I'm slowly shifting from them, right? So I've gone to Delhi, Gurgaon, then I'm in Bangalore, then, this distance. So now I'm in Bangalore, not enjoying my life at all, not liking IBM at all. It was a very 11 o'clock, everybody stands in together, like thousands of people.
From colorful world of hospitality and F&B, you're in the dry, single color,
monochrome. 11 o'clock, everybody goes for tea. 11:15, you sit down. 1 o'clock lunch. So it was like a whole military thing happening, but they paid well. And during that time, one of my ex-bosses from the Oberoi called me up and he said, listen, I'm opening this company in Bombay and we have the master franchise for this brand called Lapin Quotidien, LPQ, from New York, but it's a Belgium-based company. And we have the rights for Vapiano and Wagamama. Now, this is way back in 2000, we are in 2010 now. And he said, I'm looking for a project manager. I really think I worked with you at the Oberoi. I've seen you and you've done consulting. It will be a great opportunity for you to come and start opening restaurants for me. And that is when I said, right now, I am coming. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be in F&B, opening restaurants and doing consulting and development. I think in 1 week, I gave my papers. I hadn't even finished a year and I had to pay a huge penalty, I think, to IBM. And moved to Bombay. And that is when the whole restaurant worm in me and the excitement started. And that's where I am today.
Wow. So you worked with Ahimsa Hospitality.
I did.
You worked with Anish.
Yes, I did. Wow.
Avantika and Anish both.
Yes. So Avantika wasn't so involved.
Yeah, she was not involved, right?
So Anish was there and Mark and with Pavanjeet Singh.
I mean, what a small world. That is so amazing. That is so good to know.
Yes. So Pavanjeet is ex-Oberoi. He was the EAM, like we said, the hotel manager for the Oberoi. And I think even after the terrorist attack, he left. So I was at the Trident, the Oberoi, and he was at the Luxury, the Oberoi. And he's worked with me. And that's when Anish and Mark were their American investing partners. I think now Anish is a lot more full-time. But again, I'm talking about 2010.
No, Anish still is.
Still is. I mean, now they have Soho Hospitality that
Yeah.
they have done. But yes, so Ahimsa was there, and I remember the office and opening Lape Kolaba, and I did BKC. That was my single-handedly first opening of the restaurant along with them. So
Brilliant. Yeah.
how do you know them?
As I said, small world.
Okay.
Yeah. So circles collide.
Right.
But I know them for, I think, a little over 6 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I beat you to it. I know them for like almost 13 years.
100%. I may have the latest news then.
No, I mean, actually, the other day I was speaking with, I messaged Pavan. I was connecting because he's very proud of me. He's like, you're my little child who has now gone and,
My
flourishing
my
into
connect is with Anisha and Avantika.
Okay, all right. No,
I
I
mean,
met Avantika.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm-
I've met her a couple of times whenever they would fly down from New York and
Yeah, if I'm in New York, I'm definitely catching up with
I
them.
let
That's
them-
like a
I'll-
that's like
I
a
haven't
regular.
I haven't spoken to Anish for the longest time now, but we are there on Facebook and we look at each other. But Pavan was always the binding person for us, and he was also heading Ahimsa because Anish and the other partner Mark, they were always in and out of it.
Because I know, for example, about Vapiano, they got the rights for India,
Yes.
but it didn't happen.
For Vapiano, I was there. We saw the location. We had the rights. It was right next to, in Bandra Kulla, right next to Lepeko Tidye. You had CPK, the California Pizza Kitchen, because Vapiano's main thing was that they wanted, the requisite was to have minimum 5,000 square footage of location.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find that size and to make it be feasible. I think that is when I had then moved by 2011 to Dubai. I think they were still figuring it out. But then I think Vapiano and then Vagamama also we had. That never materialized. And then they opened, I think, LPQ Pabai and India Bulls.
In December of 19 end, we signed as possessed. We
Okay.
signed Vapiano US.
Okay.
March 2020,
Okay.
North Carolina and Chicago were supposed to go live.
Okay. Ouch.
And Vapiano US went bankrupt. Changed hands. All those stores, like some of those stores shut down, and and then the new owners came, and by the time we also lost steam. So we have like
Sorry.
that. Yeah. So when I was talking to Anish in December, he said, "Oh wow, you got Vapiano. This is so cool. It's an unresolved issue." In April 20, I called him. I said, the issue remains unresolved for me now. Vapiano didn't happen.
I mean, I at that time, I'm talking about 2010. Those are great brands for them to be
Yeah.
visionaries, to come and bring, to take the chance to bring an LPQ. to
Yeah,
India.
100%.
And I remember a lot of people couldn't understand even the tartans, like the tartines that we call.
I think it was ahead of its time, because
Even
if
bring
you see
Vagamama.
India now, right now, I think this is a good time. This is a
Dra-
last couple of
this-
years.
I mean, look at what is happening in India. This is such a great time to be like. I think the last 2 years, the whole scene, the F&B
It
has
has flipped.
just picked up.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
food.
Experimental stuff, high quality stuff, and I think that comes a lot at the back of the current demographic, the population, the age, the people
And
who are
COVID, people traveled. People, I think,
traveled, and also I think people are also growing up on internet. See, my
no, people were eating, because one thing I think everybody realized is there's nothing more and nothing less than food. And food started combining people. We were cooking at home. And I think once the COVID was lifted, people started understanding the experiential dining, and they wanted to then put money in that whole let's live, let's do everything. And especially for India, 2 years, back to back. I think that is since last year, 2022, when the ban and it's been at ease. The dining, people are going out a lot more to eat, and they're like, okay, let's just step out and experiment.
See, revenge eating was definitely there, but I also feel that, especially in India, I mean, my view is that I think one is that people are growing up on internet all at once, right? So if you look at the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, right, from our perspective, we do a lot less business in India, but because we work with like large brands, and the way we see how they're penetrating tier 3, tier 4,
Yeah.
which was almost impossible 5 years back, and 5 years is like recent past.
True.
All I can see is that people, are suddenly saying that, hey, I want the same experience in my city.
Yeah.
I want the same experience in Ranchi. I want the same experience in Guwahati. And the amount of restaurant bars, breweries, we apparently have 3 customers who are breweries in Siliguri.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that, for me, I mean, I'm looking at India from that perspective, that,
fantastic.
what is happening in the veins of the country is actually much bigger in what I
Than-
feel,
than the
the
cost of
latent, than the Delhi, Bombays and Bangalore.
It is happening. I mean, right now, I think in comparison to now that I have my little understanding of the India market, when I compared the metros with the metropolitan cities with Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta, I think Bombay and Bangalore is like all time high right now. They're at a differently. Even Goa, it's at an all time low.
Yeah, Goa just
Delhi is
burst
slow.
after.
Yeah,
No,
burst. Like just
Goa just burst after COVID. Actually, during COVID.
it's just going insane every day in Goa. I have people right now, I think after Inja's little success, that I will say, people have reached out, like, do you want to do something in Goa? I was like, no, let me figure it out. I have 2 restaurants now in Delhi. Let me just figure out both of them. And I've just entered, for me, India.
No, I think
market.
Goa saw a very interesting shift. Goa in last 3 years has transformed as an Indian tourist destination. If you talk to Goan locals, till last year they were not happy.
Yeah.
It took them time to come to terms with the fact that all right,
I had
this
a
is what
friend,
is our audience.
She put a post on her Instagram, and I read that, and I was laughing. And when she said that, she's lived in Goa for some time, and she's actually a baker, and she said, I miss the old smells of bread baking, and with Goa street. Now it all smells like tandoori chicken. So
No, but that's actually true.
Yeah,
Goans
it is.
have such a big complaint that Delhiites and North Indians have just flooded it like
It
nothing
is.
else, which is actually true as well. I don't really blame them because
No, there is so many. A lot of people from Delhi, like
Yeah.
so many restaurateurs who are entered. And every day I know, because I have a few people who I know in real estate, and because they talk to me, they're like, but this one is coming in, this brand is coming in, let them come in.
Yeah, and prices
And
have
it's-
gone. I mean,
Because real estate is cheap in Goa.
Yeah.
That is what. And it will, of course, impact the real estate. So right now, in comparison to Bombay and Delhi, Delhi is still cheaper than Bombay. Bangalore is expensive. I mean, Delhi is also expensive
no,
for,
but I
for
think
retail. But
I think one of the reasons is that people from Bombay are still price conscious, cost conscious just by design. So when Bombay people go to Goa, they negotiated price basis Goa. They
Yes.
did not negotiate price basis Bangalore,
Yeah.
Bombay. Delhi people, when they went to
Del-
Goa,
Delhi
they did
has
not
no
negotiate.
problem. No, I
they-
must tell you, Delhi has no Delhi will pay if they like a place. They have no price point.
Correct.
You have a
no semblance of that. Okay, this is affordable. This is not. This
no,
is
because there's a huge genre of clientele who will pay for money. The 200 families in Delhi, you can't compete. Bombay doesn't have that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that hold of the spending power that Delhi has, and that's why it's amazing. That's why I think for Inja, that's why people ask why not here. I said the real estate is pretty much the same in terms of retail and restaurants, but you get a better space in Delhi, square footage wise, and I think people are. I personally think that the spending power to understand the fine dining in Delhi is a lot more, which has worked beautifully. Bombay could have revolted. It could be like they would have understood the concept a lot more, probably a lot more forgiving sort of what we have done, but they would have found it the price point good, price point not affordable. But Delhi, people are coming back. I have, the
sure.
return customer ratio is high, and
Delhi's depth of spending capacity is quite
insane.
deep.
And look where I am. I'm in New Friends Colony.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting in the creme a la creme, the posh location, and you have everybody close by. You're sitting on gold mine. So if they are not being able to spend, then nobody else can. Then this concept would not work anywhere
100%.
unless I make it into a bar, which wasn't.
I mean, see, Indian Accent has been running for ages, and
We went there because of that. When Indian Accent left, for the fact that they could pull in the numbers
you're
that they were
the
doing.
same.
Yes. So 2018, I think Indian Accent moved to the Lodi.
Yeah.
And ever since then, the landlords were just doing their own thing, and then nothing major came in. And then I took over. And I think the only reason I think I even wanted to put my money in there, if you see the location, you will be like, why? Well, who's going to come here?
No, I know the location.
So
it's
for
a
people
great
who are
spot.
probably listening
Yeah.
to us,
It's
for
a
them,
great spot.
It's but it's so isolated. It's a destination. It's it is in a gated community, because you have some of the richest people in Delhi living there, and it's towards the end of it, and the hotel is right. So you have to drive to come there. It's not that you're sitting on a high footfall area.
But that's exactly the clientele that you're looking for as well.
Sometimes I want some extra footfall. So, there are days not everybody's going to drive down. But the fact that I saw the numbers and what Indian Accent came out of it, I thought, it's better to be isolated and to have your destination. And we can't complain. fortunately, unfortunately, yes, we were riding on the iconic and the legendary stuff they did there and left behind. It's so easy for people to then you tell them, oh, where Indian accent was. But I think I'm so happy now in the last 7 months, Inja has made its own identity, and now people are able to Inja, where Inja is now in Delhi. So
That is super.
thank you.
What happened after LPQ?
So after LPQ, I moved to Dubai, and
What year was that?
this was 2011. I have moved to Dubai, and was looking cold calling for jobs what I wanted, and it's all destiny. It's all lined up together, and
Was there a reason to move to Dubai, or you just
yes,
wanted
I
to change the
actually
scene?
I got married, and because of my ex-husband from my first marriage, that was the reason he was in Dubai, and I moved to Dubai for him. That's why I left Ahimsa and in India, even though I loved my job. I think that was one of the most fantastic time in my career. I was learning. It was a great team. Anish personally, can't say anything else. I was having a great time there. Good paying job, Bombay. What else could you ask for? But like I said, I was still silly. Love costed me a thing. So, but it was pulling me. My marriage didn't last for long, but you know what it did? It left me a great career. And that was probably my pull to Dubai. I moved here and um, was making cold calls, and as luck would have it, one of the best companies in that time, it was called EPJ, by these two gentlemen, Elmar and Patrick, who ran this company, who had opened Zuma and La Petite
Oh,
Maison,
wow.
and we opened Jetty Lounge, and I was working for the Kerzner Group with them for one and only the Royal Mirage China. And we opened an iconic restaurant at that time called Kabara. So, anyways, I joined them as project manager, and was by chance, because it is so strange that I remember the time when I was cold calling, and I called up this company, and I think a project manager picked up the phone, and I said, la la la, and she's like, okay, hold on. And she called up one of the owners who was passing by, and he said, hey, Patrick, there's this girl who wants to speak. Do you have time? And, Patrick picked up the call, and he said, yes. I said, I'm so sorry, I've done this. Would you have 5 minutes to catch up with me and talk? And idly, the kind of man and how busy he is, and he was the owner, why would he meet me? But he said, you know what? It's so strange. A project manager resigned yesterday, and I'm looking for a project manager.
Wow.
I was like, me, choose me. And he's like, your qualification and you just moved to Dubai doesn't, but let's just catch up. So he was kind enough, and he called me on a site of this restaurant called Kabara that we were working in Bafi. And I went there to meet him, and apparently he liked me. He was impressed with and that's probably one time my gold medal really helped me. And they were like, oh, okay, so you've got a stamp. And I joined that company, and since then till now, I have done around 80 restaurants, and that is when the real F&B
Wow.
consulting with them, and I worked with them for close to 3 years.
So this was a consulting company,
That was a sheer consulting and owning
but
company.
like a turnkey.
Everything, but they also owned, because they were doing concepts for clients, but they also owned. They took sweat equity, and we did back to back. So I'm sorry,
80 restaurants.
not with them overall now, but with them, I think close to 10 to 15 restaurants. A lot more master, because they were like senior people. They had to open Zuma London and Zuma here, and
Yeah.
that's very senior people. And I was like, how do you get to be that lucky to work for the best company or consulting? They were number one at that time, but they opened something called Fume in Pier 7. We owned that restaurant that broke even in 6 months. It was a whole talk in 2013 about that concept. And so I worked with them for 3.5 years, learned a lot. Unfortunately, some of their major restaurants shut down. Kabara, which was at that time a $10 million restaurant, which was in the Wafi, it was supposed to be the next Zuma.
Like $10 million revenue or investment?
Investment, and it didn't work. I think it shut down in a year's time. Then the other one restaurant in Business Bay, which was another 5 million. So these restaurants kept shutting down, and they didn't know what, how, and where to go ahead.
Got it.
And I think so. With them, I was for 3.5 years, but that made my solid base with like a foreign country, and that's when I did again dirty job, like every menial job. I didn't care. Printing papers, bringing them, making tea for people who came in, even though there was utility. But I have no problem. Did everything. Just wanted to learn everything too quickly, because was just so excited, when you find your dream job. And I remembered, like, Gordon Ramsay is coming in and out, and all these top
Nice.
chefs are coming, and they're all friends because he's British, and they have access to that. And you're just like, I have read your book, and I've seen you on TV yelling, and I've seen that. So that was just like, I was having fun. I was 27, so it was just fun.
Nice.
My marriage wasn't working, but my professional line was going great. So God always has plans. And
then from there?
then from there, the next one was a company called Glee Hospitality, with a gentleman called Abdul Qadir Sadi, and they were doing a lot of QSRs and mid-scale.
I haven't
level.
met him, but I've met him on Zoom.
Okay.
He's now doing 86. Right?
Now he's doing 86.
Yeah.
Yes. So I joined him, and I wanted to then understand the QSR and the casual dining market, because you remember 2014-15, the market had just come up, homegrown and mid-level, and then I wanted to learn that, and I said, to learn the real F&B side, you need to go and understand that market, because luxury now I have got from the EPJ boys. Then I got into him, and in 1.5, 2 years, 2 years that I worked for Glee. So now I'm now the project director. So I've come from a project manager to a senior manager, joined Glee as a project director, had a good group of people. I did 29 restaurants. That's how, it was just the cookie cutter, QSR model. And
this was your first prize with QSR as well.
Yeah, this is my first, because I haven't done that before.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, the mid-scale level I had done was La Pain Quotidien in India. But then that again, because you have to understand, I came from the Oberoi's and Taj, and I worked in high dining restaurants. Then LPQ also, the Bombay way, it was a fine casual. It was always because you're serving alcohol, and they wanted the placement that way. And then with the EPJ team, they were all fine dining and high end and $1 million investments. So this is my first QSR. I wasn't enjoying so much. I missed the luxury market, but it was a huge learning, because by then I knew how much it costs to put a screw in a table. That is what I wanted to learn. I wanted to know everything. What is your how much money do you spend per square footage, per seat, per this, per that? So all the pers were getting answered for me, and that's exactly what I wanted. So then my theoretical and my technical knowledge was then just rubbed and refined, because when you're doing in a small project, I was doing more of like receiving things and printing things and menial jobs, but you can't learn unless here, when you start opening the restaurant, you're like the head and you have 5 people reporting and 29 restaurants, then you are like, now you're polished, the diamonds get.
And also, is it also like completing that circle, because in luxury the like the play is quite
and
there,
too many
right?
people involved. And Glee, there wasn't. Like, even though I was a project director, but there were certain restaurants I took it that I wanted to open from start to scratch.
And also, QSR is like a thin, like your leash is like you have to still.
QSR was like, I think, casual.
Okay.
I think casual dining space. That I think he had stopped doing the QSR models so much, the kiosks and everything else. I think we went more in international franchises and middle scale. But it was good. It was to understand all levels of operations, all levels of how franchises work. What are the negotiations, lease, this, that, everything. So it was just a great. That was, I don't know what my 5 years of schooling at that time. This is what the last. I think the 5 years of Dubai is what it taught me, from every model at whatever I had to learn, and I went everywhere. I was grabbing knowledge left, right, center. And then this amazing gentleman who was sitting in New York, I don't know how he found me on LinkedIn, sent me a message through one of his employees, and he said that, listen, we are looking at expanding to Middle East from New York, and we're looking for somebody to start the company and open an operating office in Dubai. And this company was called Marea, and my founder's name is Mr. Ehmas Fakahani, who is an was the president and CEO of Merrill Lynch, now Bank of America. So big Wall Street guy. Loved F&B, so opened one of the most iconic restaurants in New York called Marea. For 13 years was 2 Michelin-starred at the Central Park at the Plaza. And many other iconic restaurants. And under the group, they wanted to expand Marea. And they said, we're looking for somebody to lead it in Dubai. And I was like, this is a joke. I'm 32 years old. They want me to open an international Michelin-star restaurant company in Dubai. And the maths wasn't mathing. It wasn't working. And but he said, we are not going to do all this, whatever, Zoom or Skype call. we are going to call you over to New York, and we need you to meet face to face because we want to hire the head of our company, and that cannot happen over Zoom. We need to. So I said, no problem. Now, what do I tell? Now I'm going on record and saying it, but what do I tell now my glee boss? Because I'd just come back from vacation. So I took the flight on, because Friday and Saturdays used to be off then, right?
Sure,
6 years back in 2017. So I took a flight on, I think, Thursday night from here to New York, reached New York Friday morning, had an interview for 8 hours. The whole board was there. They took me to all the restaurants. So I've reached at like 10 o'clock in the morning, Friday time. From 10 o'clock till like 7 o'clock in the evening, I'm just giving interviews. Now I've got selected. They've made me the managing director. Everybody has interviewed me, from every person, like even the legal team. I was like, why is the council interviewing me? Well, it's very intimidating. You're in a room filled with 8 men. And one is one of the biggest man on Wall Street. Like, you're sitting and you're interviewing with them. But what really got me going was I'm a straight shooter and I didn't bullshit. And my technical knowledge was very strong. So all the technical questions that kept coming from everywhere. And so I think that is what I was like, oh, I am. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'm ready for this. But I didn't know how to start a company. And then I have ran back, taken the flight on Friday night. Now I'm in New York, taken that flight and landed here on Saturday night, because then
Saturday late night.
And then Sunday morning I'm in office like nothing has happened. Well, what did you do on the weekend?
But were you having a skip? Like
no jet lag, nothing. No jet lag, nothing.
No. Were you flying?
Absolutely. That's why there was no jet lag. I was just so exhilarated, and like the whole flight, I was like, my life. I knew my life was about to change. I don't know how successful the company would have, what we would have done, but something in me was just so excited. As a kid, I was like, I can't believe. And I mean, I can't tell you my pay, but it was good. It was a good, good deal that we had signed for, and to remunerate it 6 years back, to be 32 and get that going and to start a company from scratch. So that is what the journey
That is
has
awesome.
been. And ever since then, the company is 6 years old, and the rest is in front of you. We have almost close to 12, 13 restaurants in Middle East and India. Have a Michelin star, and in the world's 50 best MENA, have won a lot of awards. The team grew from 4 people that we started the office to almost close to 900 people today, and super happy. And it's been a very steady, very organic growth. And now I really want to show the world what I will do in the next 5 years for Atelier House Hospitality.
Yeah, that sum up looked like a gist of an overnight success.
Not really. There's been many hours of hard work, but I have a fantastic team, and that's why I think one thing we always said is we were not looking for employees. We were looking for family. Each one of us is working there is more like a family. I joke with them. I treat them. They know at middle of the night if they need anything, my phone is available. I'm there for them. And even today, when we hire people, we like you. This is AHH is a family. Whatever you need, we are there at any point of time. And that is how you, I think, build good companies. And people have stayed. So there are some of them who've joined.
There's no other way.
There's no other way. And the core team of mine who's been there. The day that they joined, my head of projects, my finance director, I mean, today they're all directors and, vice presidents and stuff. They were there from day one. They're still here. Because
Wow,
they've seen
awesome.
They've seen the growth and, and they see it like where we are about to build. I mean, nobody can see it. We have Kevin, who's here, my head of marketing, sitting in the room with us. And he comes from a great company before, I mean, I applaud him for what he has done. And the company that he worked for, they have a 2 Michelin stars right now. And, is an Indian chef doing well. And he comes, and a lot of times I was like, are you sure you want to come and join our company? You come from, he's one of the top marketing guys in the country, and he could find any job. But I think he saw the camaraderie. And today he's almost close to a year now, and he's having a lot of fun, which I need to also check for them. They're all having too much fun, but enjoying too much. But no, we are so happy, and we get to do such amazing concept. We have such amazing partners, and everybody in my team. We are all so, I'll tell you, we enjoy and we love our success. We are all very humble and very grounded people. We are all still the same basic people that we guys were 5 years back, and nobody has any comms, no airs, no nothing. We just love our job and just
I mean
want to
that
make
speaks
money.
highly of the hard work that all of you are putting in, because my it's not a belief, it's an observation, is that humans do have egos, but when you work very very hard, it just gets sanded off.
Yeah.
So if somebody still has ego, I'm like, you know what, I think you still need some sanding. You're not working hard enough. Try work a little harder and you'll be humble
Exactly.
automatically.
What is
You
a
can't be.
what is a thing we say in it's a Hindi proverb, but fruit laden tree bends down,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what you do, and I think we got that from our CEO, from our founder, from Mr. Fakahani. I mean, one of the top guys, in banking investment today, even in the industry, and he has everything that you can think of. But you'll see him; he's so humble, so polite, so giving, and so understanding.
No, but that
And that is,
simply means that he has gotten this with a lot of hard work. There's no other way.
of course, I mean, him having an Egyptian background, but he grew up in Switzerland and England. But he studied in Boston. Today, he's actually the chairperson of Boston University. Also,
Oh,
apart from
wow.
doing everything else, I'm like, I know how. He's 65 years old and such a big motivator. So there are times when we get tired, and I look at him, I was like, he's not stopped, and he doesn't need to work. He doesn't need to work at all for a single day, but he loves working. And he's like, what else is there to do in life?
Yeah.
Is to work and enjoy. And then we see him, and there are days when, and he's just walking around with a simple t-shirt, and the bank balance doesn't define him. Why should it define us? Who are we? We've done nothing in our lives. So for us and for our team, we are all having fun. They have some great concepts, some great partnerships.
Because you're talking about team, and so highly, how much of you being a sports person at heart, or the formative years were a sports person, how much of that reflects on your, like, how did it reflect on your career personally? How do you feel? Do you feel something about being a sports person, being a team player?
You know what? One thing, if I have to think about it, when I was playing basketball, and some of the circumstances and scenarios in India, even when you are playing, I have slept on floors for weeks because we didn't have proper mattresses. I've slept, and in sports, I hope the scenario has changed, but there was a lot of people from tier 3 cities, from not too well-to-do families. They came from very humble backgrounds, and the women had to prove themselves to even get that job in railways, for a small salary, to be a ticket collector. And we've seen, some of the movies where a lot of cricketers have to go through it.
Yeah.
So it's never been easy. So and I think when I was playing, representing UP for one of my nationals, in my UP team, and I had to go through this 10 days of, there were like 20-30 people, and they choose the team from there. And I came from a certain background and from certain school, and I had some branded socks and shoes, and my parents packed me up without even understanding what is about to happen to me. And I remember when my mom came to drop me where the training was supposed to happen, it was a haunted house. It had nothing. It had a dirty bathroom, which was one bathroom with one big dormitory room, and nothing else. And that one bathroom had to be, the Indian style, and one cubicle to be with 20 women. And all those 20 women, they were just me and one other girl from Lucknow, and even she came from a humble background. The other 18 people were from all very small places, from Banaras and Alibag, and small towns and villages that they had come and they worked there. So I think that part of my life, and of course playing, taught me that, and the love for food, that, like I said, a dignity of labor. So nothing. I've slept on the floors. I have. I never complained. My mom was very proud of me. She said, when she came to see me, she saw me with stinky shoes and this,
Yeah,
and then living in
yeah.
and mosquitoes are biting, and you're on the floor, and she's like, she had a crying. She's like, how have you been living like this for the last 10-15 days? And you didn't say when we could talk. I didn't have a mobile phone, so we could go to a booth to call her up, and I never complained. I would only say that, oh, I miss food, but it's fine. And she said, it's okay, you're not supposed to eat all of this. But when they came to pick me up, and they were like, you've been living like this and you didn't complain. I said, no. So I think that aspect of now I don't have that ego. I have no ego left. There are times when I want to bring my ego out and like, oh, but I have done so much. I have achieved. My ego needs to come out. And people have to understand I'm very passionate. I have zero ego, which is so bad. Like at times
Why is it bad?
No, sometimes I want to have a little bit of, like a little bit of ego is good, to just have that self-pride more than ego. But that,
I mean,
but then I
you-
don't have it. I
But
think I have
self-pride is, but you may feel pride, right?
a different kind of pride. But
What
then,
are the moments when you feel Like when you were like, I mean, come on, I've definitely arrived.
There've been quite a few, I think, of late. I think, of course, many in the Michelin star has been just like, and I think I'm very few women in Indian women in the world who have, as a restaurateur, who have. I think I know two. I think there's Karma Arora, who opened Ga in Bangkok, and there is Samyukta Nair, Captain Nair's daughter, who owned Leela's, and then she got a Michelin star for, I think, one of her restaurants in London from Jamawar. And she's actually coming to Dubai also now. And I don't know any other Indian woman restaurateur who has ever gotten a Michelin star. So
Yep.
I think that's one of the biggest moments to be in the world's 50 best MENA, to have the restaurant there, to have successful restaurants working, making money. I think that's, and just
What are
off
the
it.
cheap thrills when you
Cheap
feel
thrills is
pride?
when I won the restaurateur of the year, and there were 9 other men. So Naeem was one of them.
Yeah.
So I think I was,
yeah.
I was waiting for 4 years. I was this was my 4th year of nomination, and I was like, well, I think it's time that I won something. I've worked very hard, and I don't like playing this whole woman card thing. I think anyone who works hard deserves it, whether a man or a woman. I don't choose my team members because, oh no, I have to be nice to women. No,
I
if you are,
wanna double click on that. What's your view on, two, one, women in hospitality, much less, like way, very small percentage, and not even in leadership, even in the roles. Kitchen all over the world are run by women, patriarchy, but then in commercial kitchens are all run by men, which is also quite confusing.
I think it is because I'll tell you, like one of my statements was that the longevity of the physical attribution in the operations of restaurants. I think most of the time, I don't think women want to push themselves to do it. I think you have to understand, all of us work hard. I have to put these two for women thing. I have to give you two aspects. I'm not saying that 10 other women who are not working hard. They're working hard. You and I, everybody in this room is working hard, but there's also something called luck and a destiny. And some people are destined to have something. My luck is a little stronger than few others, so I got a lot more limelight. I'm just saying. But that doesn't mean that there are other women who are not working as hard. But I always feel everybody has a little luck also, and opportunity riding with them. Her hard work is not everything.
No, I mean, I will not disagree with you very strongly, because I don't know, but I don't want to dilute the point.
No, but I'll come to that. But what I think is, there's a part of me, why I was telling this to you, is I didn't also push hard. I did not like operations. So sometimes I have always said, if women are not going to push hard enough and bring themselves out there and not complain and cry and be like, oh, we can't do 18 hours, we can't do this, we can't do that. And I'm telling you, most of the time in hospitality, women are not there in back of the house. Front of the house, you can see them sales and marketing or revenue, or even in headquarters. Operationally, it is the toll that on the physical longevity that probably it takes for women. There are very few who can take it. There's a lot more that is required mentally also to be in a kitchen. At the end of the day, the heat that is built up in a back area and how a restaurant is run in it is not everybody's tea to take that level of heat. And we all know how stressful it can be. At the spur of the moment, a lot of things are said and done. It's not because it's a personal thing. It is a very professional driven thing. And you're working in, look at the temperature when the chefs are working in. Look at the rush, and then non-stop you're cooking. And a hotline, you're not stopping. The aggression, the tiredness, the stamina, these define a lot of things. And I don't think a lot of women can take it. But I also think that women need to push a little bit more harder for themselves, and then come out and be like, when you work as hard enough, you will have a lot more opportunity for women.
What
also.
about the leadership position, right? For example, my co-founder, Sakshi, is a strong leader. She used to run her own company before we co-founded, our current company together. And my view is that from a gender perspective, this is my personal opinion, I don't really recognize genders as professionally. I don't.
As it should be.
Yeah, and I don't, right? And I think this was probably more intrinsic to me than a virtue that I was holding. I only realized it later. But I have been continuously reminded of, I generally get reminded of the gender from the gender, from the, let's say, a woman saying that, hey, you know what, I can't do this, or maybe, this is not something that I want to do. Maybe it's like pushing professionally, pushing for the late hours, or
True.
As a leader, leading an organization in hospitality, harsh environment, so many variables, nothing is constant. How do you look at that today?
I think, let me rephrase and rethink to a level. I like, I agree with the point. The thing is that I have never looked at any job opportunity that comes in, whether even when we advertise it for Atelier House, saying that he, she, or she, whatever, it is gender neutral. Anybody who thinks are qualified for a certain job, please apply it. But we have been also very lucky, especially in the headquarters. I'll start with. We have a 50-50 right now. I have 50 out of, say, 25 people working in the headquarters. I think I have 12 people who are women and 12 are men, because we've started getting those amazing, resumes and talent and potential to come and apply for those jobs. And at that point of time, I'm not looking for male or female, or whoever fits in the criteria can do their job. Please fill in, and so that way I've had that balance very well. Now, when we talk to of the operating thing, the problem is you have to look at the ratio as well, right? As a leader, if I have an opportunity for a waiter's position, even as a restaurant manager, okay? Now, in a leadership also as a restaurant manager, if I am receiving 10 CVs, out of which 2 are women and 8 are men, they can all come in. But look at the ratio also. I don't even have the justification of giving an equal opportunity to women to even consider, first of all. So out of 10, out of the ratio 8, out of 8, I will have higher chances of a male candidate than out of 2. So right now the ratios are not matching. So whether you have to do a placement in leadership levels or the bottom rung and any level, the ratio of the data that you get, or the candidature that you get, is not there. So people are pushing a lot more. I think women are getting a lot more educated. I think the industry, they're speaking a lot more about it. There's a lot more, I think men in general have also started to understand the presence of women around and how to be a little bit more accommodating and gentle. I think back in the days, nobody really cared. There's a flying pan what's coming and going across you, and you're like, okay, you live with it. Now you can't. So I think there's a lot more consciousness. There's a lot more, I think, understanding.
You're saying
And women are toughening up, and they understand that. And now I think they understand that this particular job is not an easy job, and this comes with a little bit of masculinity. So if men can go and do some of the feminine work, women are also now doing masculine work, because lifting up pans with 20 kgs of stuff in it, it's not everybody's. So I think a lot more people are now aware. They're taking up as challenges, because there are people like your wife, or I'll like to say about myself, who are breaking the glass ceiling, and now everything is possible. For me, my biggest inspiration in life was when I saw Indra Nooyi, the ex-CEO of PepsiCo.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that woman. Is so humble, mother,
She's solid.
pretty and solid. And if she could, as an Indian American, go down and break those barriers, I think today everything is possible. And I think a lot more. So I saw her, and that motivated me. I was like, hell yeah. If she can do it, so can I, and nothing should stop me. So if I can do that, I'm sure that now the generations are seeing that a woman can be a CEO, a woman can be a president, a woman can be, CFOs. There is no stopping. So that women will open a lot more doors for women. So leaders will create more leaders.
This was a great conversation.
Thank
I
you.
think,
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on the journey so far. Quite a lot there, quite interesting. I can see, all the layers of toughening up. I think this is,
Yes.
I don't think that we can see all the hard work, clearly in the conversation, but we can definitely see all the layers, and I'm sure penetrating through each was
Thank you.
its own
It's
journey.
20 years of the layering.
100%, 2003.
And more to go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. All the
Such
best.
a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you.